I am so glad, Judge King, that it never occurred to me that I'd done it on my own. I am honored to receive the Margaret Brent Award and to receive it with such extraordinary co-honorees. I'm ennobled by the company I keep, and I congratulate each of you for each of your extraordinary accomplishments. I want to express my gratitude to my dear friends and colleagues who wrote letters on my behalf that talk about a woman I do not recognize. I really do thank you. For more than 30 years at the National Partnership for Women and Families, previously called the Women's Legal Defense Fund, I have had the profound privilege and pleasure to work on issues that I care passionately about with the greatest people in the world, and there's hardly anything else you can ask for. Because of the extraordinary leadership of the National Partnership around the Family and Medical Leave Act, more than 50 million working Americans have been able to take time off to care for their seriously ill spouses or parents, and to watch their young children live and love and learn and laugh. They've been able to take time off without fear that they would ever lose their jobs. We've come very far in this great nation, but we have very far to go. Right now, much of what we have fought for and won is at stake. And I want to talk to you for a very few minutes as the advocate I have just been described and the one I've been for 40 years and God knows 40 or 50 more. We all do face a momentous decision about the direction of our nation. The next Supreme Court justice may serve on our highest court for decades, making decisions that will shape the lives of generations of Americans. Women in particular have an enormous amount at stake, with the next justice likely to cast key votes that will either secure critical protections for women in health care broadly, reproductive rights, the workplace, education, and many other aspects of society, or cast votes that will undermine women's hard-won progress. The Constitution provides a well-tested framework for the choice that's before us. The President nominates a candidate for the Supreme Court, and the Senate plays an advise and consent role by making an independent assessment of the nominee's record and qualifications, and does so in a thoughtful and deliberative manner. In effect, a Supreme Court nominee has an interview with the American people for a lifetime job that could last the equivalent of 8 or 10 presidential elections. It is her or his responsibility to the American people to answer the questions the majority of Americans want answered. The burden is on that nominee to demonstrate a strong commitment to the protection of civil rights and liberties, human rights, the environment, worker protections, privacy, and religious freedom, and to judge cases fairly with an open mind and without a political agenda. A nominee has an obligation to share her or his views, to talk openly about judicial philosophy, to fully answer questions about the importance of precedent on specific issues, and to discuss prior rulings with which she agrees or disagrees, to talk about the role of the Congress and the federal government to protect the core civil rights and liberties that Judge King just talked about. Only a nominee who demonstrates an unwavering commitment to personal and individual liberty deserves a seat on our nation's highest court. I ask you to join in one of our nation's most important conversations about the nature of our civil society. I want to spend a few minutes talking about our commitment to social and economic justice. My very special, and as it turns out, whippersnapper of a mother, 91 years old only, healthy, vigorous, who along with my dad assured that my dear sister Felice and I understood from our earliest childhood days that an important part of our heritage was the deep understanding that with the privilege of being on this earth comes the concomitant obligation to make it a better place. And my mom is sitting right back there. My husband, Elliot, my life's partner of more than 37 years, who, like no other human being I know, lives a life committed to those same core values of equality and fairness and justice. And I know that that commitment will continue for generations to come because I have two wonderful daughters and sons-in-law, Sarah and Ed and Julie and Matt, whose lives are true to those core values. I am deeply honored and touched to be surrounded today by my closest friends, people with whom I share the joys and tribulations of life, people who keep me centered, who keep me honest, people who in every way are my family. I am a proud daughter, sister, wife, mom, friend, and now grandmother, in case there's anyone in this room who hasn't heard of 15-month-old Alana. We live in difficult times, times that cry out for personal and professional courage, and in that regard, I've been reflecting recently upon Robert F. Kennedy and his clarion call for individual responsibility for social justice. He explained it best when speaking in South Africa in 1966. He said, and I quote, "Each time a man, and with my feminist license I'll add a woman, stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lives of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance." You all have made ripples in these trying times, and I hope you continue to do so. In that vein, I want to conclude by telling you an important story, a story with a moral that I hope you will all take very seriously. Fannie Lou Hamer, that great African-American woman civil rights leader of the 1960s who changed the life of American Southern blacks forever, used to tell the story of the wise old man and the two little boys who thought they were very clever. The little boys decided that they would fool the old man by catching a small bird and cupping it in one boy's hand. They would then bring it to the old man and say, "Old man, we have a bird in our hands. Is it alive or is it dead?" Their plan was that if he said the bird was dead, they would release it and it would fly away. And if he said it was alive, they would crush it and show him the dead bird. And when the boys brought the bird to the old man and asked him their question, he answered simply, "It is in your hands." I am a fortunate woman. I am a woman blessed for so many reasons. I want to once again thank you all for this extraordinary award. It's your commitment to equal justice that provides my optimism for the future. Our shared core values and the lessons of commitment to equality give life meaning and purpose and extraordinary rewards, and I thank you.